I, male 38, found video and pictures of wife, female 39, cheating with another man. A little background information. We've been married since our 20s and have 2 children, ages 11 and 13. We've had some rough patches in the past as a result of my being away from home for extended periods of time. I served in the military, and when I came out, my employment forced me to work long hours. I handle all financial matters, and all I want in return is that she take care of the house, which she does not do, but that is another tale. Now fast forward to a few months ago. I went to a pub with some friends and started up a discussion about politics and sports with a female at the bar. I bought her a couple of drinks for the talk, and that was the end of it. I informed my wife about what had transpired, as well as about the girl. She quickly accused me of cheating on her, and she couldn't believe I'd do such a thing. After our dispute, we agreed to give each other our phones so we could read through each other's texts to verify I wasn't doing anything nefarious. So, just before we handed each other our phones, she stated she needed to check on something and went to the restroom with her phone. She came out, and we exchanged phone numbers. I was watching YouTube on her phone as she was going through my phone. I didn't believe I had anything to worry about. Then a message arrived, and it was from this person. So I didn't read it, but for some reason it made me want to look at photographs and videos. There was a photo of them in bed and a video of her and him having in the trash file. What I was seeing was unbelievable. She was irritated that she couldn't locate anything on my phone, so when she saw the sound coming from her phone, she yanked it away and permanently erased the media. I got out of the home. When I returned with a clear mind, I asked her about it. She said that, despite the fact that they were both nude and playing with themselves, she had no intercourse with him, despite the fact that I saw it on the video. When I inquired about the photos, she denied that they were hers. Then she put everything on me, claiming that I was never there for her, so she turned to someone she could speak to. I've lost all faith in her and don't know what to do. I don't want to disrupt my children's lives, but I can't bear the thought of being with her or emotionally right now. She wants me to forget what I saw and figure it out on my own. I realize this is probably not the finest location, but I'm at a loss for what to do. Thanks. Story 2. Me, 36 male, with my wife, 30 male/female, 12 years cheating, and want to repair. When I initially met my wife, I cheated on her during the first few weeks of our relationship. She found out and I lied about it. She believed me, but I felt so awful that I had to tell her a year later. This crushed her heart and strained our connection. Because my wife didn't trust me, I didn't do a lot of things like go out, play football, or be in a band. She was more important to me, and I hoped that things would improve with time, but she hasn't been able to trust me since. Despite the fact that this is how our relationship has been, we have 4 children together, 2, 7, 9, and 11. We've had a lot of good moments throughout the years, and we have a great family. The trust has never returned in all these years, and I've always felt responsible for it. My wife did not have a good childhood and received no cards from relatives on her 30th birthday. Her mother basically booted her out when she got 16, so she feels extremely alone. She has suffered from depression, but has never received treatment for it until now. She started taking antidepressants and went to therapy a few days ago. Over the years, I've been accused of cheating virtually every day. I'd want to claim that I've never cheated on my wife, just once and ever since. I've had chances, as I'm sure everyone does, but I've never become emotionally or physically engaged with someone. However, I have gone out by myself numerous times, getting intoxicated and not returning home until 4 a.m. This occurred on occasion, but over the course of 3 months, I found myself heading into town on most weekends. Each time, it would be after being suspected of cheating while on the job. I meet a lot of people via my job, and my wife has always been worried about me cheating on her while I'm not with her. I would have come home and said something like, "It was hilarious today at work when female X," and she would have gone off on one. So over time, I began to modify what I said to the point where I was virtually always lying about everything since I knew it would just bring my wife misery. Not that she should have been concerned, but her mind had a way of warping things. In the summer of 2013, I worked long hours and didn't spend much time in town on my evenings out. I adore my children and my wife, and we'd taken numerous day excursions and had a lot of fun on the weekends. But when the summer came to a close, I felt a little depressed. My wife would accuse me of infidelity, and I would get anxious and irritated because I did nothing. Then I'd storm out of the home and wouldn't come back until 4 a.m. My wife, was certain that I was cheating because of this behavior. I wasn't. In fact, I seldom spoke to women. I can communicate with the majority of people, and funny as it may sound, going out by myself was not a difficulty. Then I reached a new low and began using cannabis. This was a significant error that I was unaware of at the time. It appeared to take the edge off, and I wasn't as anxious as before. I gradually increased my consumption until I was smoking it every day. Beginning in September 2013 and continuing every day till November. My wife saw what I was doing and we had a discussion about it. She informed me that my behavior had to end and that she wouldn't put up with it any longer. I attempted to quit, but I'd become to the awful stuff. Apparently, you can't get addicted, but I did. She threatened to do something to injure me if I continued to do this. Now I was lying to my wife about smoking, but she was well aware of what I was up to. I went out one night, and when I returned, she stated she had been on a dating service, and we hadn't spoken in a week. I made myself at home on the couch. I broke the quiet towards the end of the week and told her I loved her and hoped everything would work out. I asked her if she would no longer visit the site, and if we could work things out. She said that the website was a waste of time and that she was not interested in any other males. She just did it to inflict pain on me and wake me awake. We worked for a short period, but my issue did not just go. I was slipping away at each opportunity to get a brief puff. My wife was not deafening. She told me she wanted me to go and that if I didn't figure myself out, it was all over. I inquired whether she was talking to any other males, and she claimed she wasn't. After I didn't make an attempt to depart, my wife threatened to move away with the kids if I didn't leave the home. I didn't believe her and remained on the couch. I stayed because I wanted us to work things out. It was her birthday in January, and I was still trying to hide my issue, not very well. I asked her if she had any plans, and she claimed she didn't. So I offered she go away to a nice hotel while I looked after the kids. She said that she didn't have someone to accompany her, but that it would be wonderful to simply rest. So she agreed, and she had a female friend who would accompany her on Saturday afternoon. She left on the Friday. Her birthday was on Friday, so I asked if she was okay with spending it alone. She said she was okay with that and departed first thing in the morning. I cleaned the home to prepare for her return and prepared a birthday tea/cake since the kids hadn't seen Mom on her birthday. As a result, we celebrated her homecoming with a birthday celebration. When she went in, I took her luggage and said I'd wash her stuff. She grabbed it, claiming I'd placed everything in the incorrect place and she'd do it later. The case was still there in the morning, so I figured I may as well put the wash in. When I opened the case, I saw a plethora of gorgeous underwear that I had never seen before. I was taken aback since she had never done anything like that for me before. I assumed there was something she was going to put on for me as a ruse to make things work. I assumed she must have been delighted that I had found her a hotel and that I did care about her. I made the decision not to say anything and just shut the suitcase. My cannabis addiction persisted. It irritated me and made me feel as if it were pounding me. However, a few days after my wife came home, I was able to break the habit. I walked in and handed my wife all I had left before telling her it was all over. I'd done some thinking and mentally prepared my spell, but I didn't need it. All I needed was my family. I was able to quit smoking successfully. A few days later, I brought home a takeout and we sat on the couch together. We were getting along a lot better, despite the fact that my wife had not said that she would be staying, but I took it she was. Then she received a text, and I saw the name Paul appear on the screen. Paul, I asked, who is Paul? She said, just a pal. Well, I don't know any Pauls, so where did you hear about him? She replied on the dating site. This really blew my head, since I had been utterly foolish. I'd inquired whether she was speaking to guys, and she'd responded no. She'd been talking to him for 3 months, it turned out. You're probably thinking I'm crazy, but in my head, we were going to work things out. I'd get my addiction under control. We'd remain together, and no other guys would be involved. After discovering Paul, who had been chatting to my wife for 3 months, I departed in a nasty attitude. As I was leaving the home, it occurred to me about the hotel and Paul's underwear. Oh dear, I thought, did I just send my wife away for a nasty weekend? Then I went home and told him about the underwear, and that I knew she was having with him. That I was more than simply a friend, but also a lover. She still claims that she never met him, and that all she did was email him images. She carried the underwear to the hotel in order to send additional images. The strangest part is that the place I sent her to for the motel was his hometown. Then, a few weeks later, she took the children and left. I couldn't believe it. My world had come crashing down around me, and it was all my fault. What I'd been. And yes, it was the correct thing to take my children away from me while I was smoking in bed while they were sleeping. I wept and cried some more. I didn't want that dirty trash to make me feel better and distort my eyesight. I was over it, but the agony of reality and losing my family was excruciating. So I worked very hard to reclaim my wife. This year, I've spent a lot of time at her home and had the pleasure of putting my kids to bed, etc. We've been doing well, but not great. My wife kept her phone locked at all times, but I was worried about anything happening on it. I had a conversation with a lady at work who was also dealing with relationship issues. She was telling me a lot of things, and I was doing my best to be supportive of her. Then one day I told her I was kind of half separated and attempting to work out my marital problems. I said that I suspected my wife was seeing someone else. Later that day, as I was with my wife, my colleague texted me about how things were going with her. My wife freaked out when she read it. What the hell was I doing saying stuff to her? My wife said I was attempting to entice her into bed. I wasn't, I was simply reaching out and asking for a female viewpoint. By the way, the general consensus was that I was simply paranoid. Then I went away with the kids for the weekend. When I got home, a buddy told me that my wife was on a dating website. My brain was shattered. I went back to her place and stayed the night. I recognized her phone PIN codes since I had seen her enter it in months before. But she had opted not to check and instead to leave. I waited until she was sleeping before checking it. I saw texts from her buddy Paul and a new person named Harvey on it. Basically, my wife had been conversing with Paul the whole time. We had agreed that she would not contact him again, that we were going to sort things out without seeing anybody else. There wasn't much stuff on it since much of it had been removed, but from what I could tell, the correspondence was recent. My wife had told me that she had discovered he had a girlfriend and couldn't be trusted, so it was over as soon as I found out. He wanted her, she stated, but she didn't want him. Harvey, the new man my wife had been talking to for a week. She invited him to her place on Friday, and within a couple of hours, they were on the couch. On Saturday, she went out with him, and he stayed over again. I don't think him that beautiful, but he's fantastic in bed, she said in a message to a pal. This occurred in November of 2014. Since then, I've said that I am prepared to forgive her, and we are attempting to reconcile once again. I adore my children and my wife. She has recently begun antidepressant medication and treatment. More than everything, I want to keep my family together, but my brain is now in shambles. I'm okay for a little while, then I can't sleep. I want to forgive and forget her, but I'm having a hard time doing so. The strange thing is that the more agony I experience, the worse our connection becomes, as if I'm not much fun. I'm not trying to offend her, but since she suffers from depression, she takes everything personally. I genuinely need some sound guidance in this situation. I realize I've been a total with my behavior, and I've drove her away. I'm also aware that many people will declare that it's all over. But what I'm looking for is practical advice on how to make things work. Most folks on here urge me to quit up, based on what I've read. Well, I'm going through hell, which I may deserve, and I'm not going to give up. I am completely aware of the task ahead of me, but if anything is simple, it is generally not worth much. Please let me know if you have any suggestions on how I might regain trust and reclaim my manhood. Depression relief, I would like it if you had a solid marriage. Thank you for spending the time to read all of this.